New rules for allocation of symbols to registered unrecognized political parties. The Election Commission of India has brought in new rules for the allocation of symbols to registered unrecognized political parties, that is RUPs. RUPs are now required to furnish audited accounts for the last 3 fiscal years. They are mandated to submit expenditure reports for the two preceding elections. The updated regulations are set to be enforced from January 2004. Now, about RUPs. RUPs are either newly registered parties or those which have not secured enough percentage of votes in the state legislative assembly or general elections to become a state party. They have never contested elections after being registered. Common symbols are provided to RUPs based upon an undertaking that they would put up at least 5% of the total candidates with regards to legislative assembly elections of a state. The ECI receives the election applications from RUPs for allotment of symbols under the Election Symbols Reservation and Allotment Order 1968. In September 2022, the ECI had delisted 86 non-existent RUPs and declared another 253 as inactive RUPs. Foreigners can't claim a right to reside in India. This has been said by Delhi High Court. The Delhi High Court has held that foreigners cannot claim the right to reside in India under the Article 19(1)(e) of the Constitution. Now, about the judgment, the Delhi High Court was hearing a habeas corpus petition filed by a man claiming that his nephew, suspected to be a Bangladeshi national, was unlawfully detained by a foreign regional registration office. The Delhi High Court, dismissing the plea, observed that foreigners cannot claim the right to reside and settle in India under Article 19(1)(e) of the Constitution of India, as their fundamental rights are limited to the protection of life and liberty under Article 21. Now, notification of CAA rules. The government has notified the rules for implementation of Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. Now, what is the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019? The legislation grants citizenship to 6 minorities, which is Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi, and Christian, fleeing religious persecution from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. The citizenship will be granted to those who entered India from these countries on or before 31st of December 2014. Relaxation of process to acquire citizenship, that is naturalization. CAA 2019 amends the Citizenship Act 1955. It relaxes the residence requirement to acquire citizenship through naturalization for those migrants from 11 years to 5 years. Now, exemption from criminal cases and deportation. The CEA exempts the members of the 6 communities from any criminal case and deportation under the Foreign Act of 1946 and Passport Act of 1920. Now, exceptions to the Act. The provisions on citizenship for illegal migrants will apply to only 2 categories. A. States protected by the Inner Line Permit will not apply to these. States protected by the Inner Line Permit and areas covered under the 6th schedule of the Constitution. Now, what are the provisions of the notified CAA rules? No requirement of valid passport, no requirement of visa, no requirement for certificate for English 8 scheduled languages, proof of entry into India before December 31st, 2014, limited power of the state governments. Now, documents of proof, valid visa, residential permit issued by FRRO, slip issued by census enumerator in India, driving license, Aadhaar card, ration card, any letter issued by the government or court, Indian birth certificate, land or tenancy record, registered rent agreement, PAN card issuance document, document issued by center, state, PSU or bank, certificate issued by an elected member or any rural or urban body or officer thereof or a revenue officer, post office account, insurance policy, utility bill, court or tribunal record, EPF documents, school leaving certificate, academic certificate, municipality trade license, and marriage certificates. Now, electronic evidence rules under the new criminal law. The new criminal law has modified the rules for electronic records and evidence. The rule brings the law in consonance with modern technology. However, certain challenges remain in implementation. Changes have been made in electronic evidence rule. Definition of electronic records. Electronic records are now include a wide range of digital data such as email, server logs, documents on electronic device, messages, websites, digital voicemails. Primary evidence rule. All copies of a video recording stored or transmitted electronically are considered primary evidence. This helps in proving cyber crimes even if the original record is destroyed. Now, admissibility of electronic records. Following the Supreme Court's guideline, a special certificate is required for electronic records to be admitted in court under the Bharatiya Sakya Adhiniyam (BSA). This certificate must be signed by two individuals, the person managing the device and an expert. Now, Supreme Court Legal Service Committee, Justice B.R. Gavai has been nominated as the chairperson of Supreme Court Legal Services Committee (SCLSC), replacing Justice Sanjeev Khanna. Now, about the committee, the SCLSC was established under Section 3A of Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987. It aims to offer free and competent legal services to vulnerable sections of society in cases under the Supreme Court's jurisdiction. It comprises of a sitting Supreme Court judge as chairperson and 9 other members appointed by the Chief Justice of India. The Centre prescribes qualifications for the membership. The committee has the authority, as per Centre's prescription, in consultation with CJI, to appoint officers and employees. Now, about the Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987, the Act establishes a statutory foundation for legal aid program. It aims to provide free and competent legal services to various eligible groups such as women, children, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and EWS categories, industrial workers, disabled person, etc. It empowers the union government in consultation with CJI to make rules through notification for implementing the Act. In 1995, National Legal Services Authority (NALSA) was constituted under the Act to monitor and evaluate the implementation of legal aid program and to formulate policies for ensuring the availability of legal services. In every state, state legislative authorities were established to implement NALSA policies and directions, give free legal services to people, and conduct Lok Adalats. Similarly, district level legal services authority and Taluk legal service committees were established in districts and most talukas. One Nation, One Election, the panel headed by the former President Ramnath Kovind, regarding simultaneous polls for the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies, has submitted its recommendation to the President of India. Major provisions of the bill: insertion of Article 82A. Article 82A will establish the process by which transition to simultaneous election for Lok Sabha and state assemblies will be implemented. Amendments to Article 327. Article 327 gives Parliament the power to make laws regarding elections to Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and state legislatures, including the preparation of electoral rolls and delimitation of constituencies. The panel has recommended that the power of Parliament under Article 327 should be expanded to include conduct of simultaneous elections as well. Now, 7th, which is Ladakh's demand for 6th schedule. The people of Ladakh are protesting for Ladakh to be recognized as a tribal area under the 6th schedule. The 6th schedule of Constitution under Article 244(2) and Article 271(1) of the Constitution is provided for the administration of tribal areas in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. 6th schedule provides for establishment of district and regional councils with certain legislative powers for the better administration. The power of district and regional councils under 6th schedule, legislative powers, they can make rules in respect to land management of forest other than reserve forest, shifting cultivation in respect of inheritance of property, marriage and divorce and social practices, regulation and control of money lending or trading by any person other than scheduled tribe resident in that scheduled district. Executive power, the power to establish or manage primary school, dispensaries, market, cattle ponds, fisheries, road transport, and waterways in the district. The council also authorizes to prescribe language and manner of instruction in primary schools. Judicial powers, they are empowered to constitute village and district council courts. No other court except the High Court and the Supreme Court has jurisdiction over such suits or cases of the council courts. Now, financial power, they are empowered to prepare a budget for their respective council. They are empowered to assess and collect land revenues and impose taxes on professions, trade, etc. They are given the power to grant license or lease for extraction of minerals within their jurisdiction. Now, reservations under the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. According to Ministry of Social Justice, People with blood disorders are not eligible for job reservations in government role under the persons with disabilities category. Now, about the issue, the right of persons with disability 2016 provides for reservation of 4% seats in government jobs for people with specific disabilities such as total loss of vision, loss, low vision, complete loss of hearing, etc. The three blood disorders, which is thalassemia, hemophilia, and sickle cell disease, has been included in the list of disabilities under the RPWD Act 2016. However, the government has held, as per Section 34 of the Act, persons with blood disorders, including thalassemia, are not eligible for reservation in government jobs. Now, thalassemia is a genetic disorder causing abnormal hemoglobin production and anemia. Hemophilia is a genetic bleeding disorder that hinders the blood's clotting ability. Sickle cell disease is a genetic blood disorder involving abnormal hemoglobin causing mishapen red blood cell. Now, Supreme Court's judgment on electoral bond scheme. The Supreme Court has held that the electoral bond scheme as unconstitutional. The Supreme Court also struck down the amendments to several acts like registrations RPA 1951, IT Act 1961, Companies Act 2013 that were undertaken to facilitate the electoral bond scheme. Now, what is the Supreme Court judgment on electoral bond scheme? The scheme violates the right to information under Article 19(1)(a), which guarantees the freedom of speech and expression. ITI can only be restricted based on Article 19(2), which mentions the reasonable restrictions to freedom of speech and expression. The reasonable restriction do not include curbing black money as a restriction under Article 19(2). The Supreme Court held that the right to privacy of political affiliations does not extend to those corporate contributions which may be made to influence policies. It only extends to contributions made as genuine form of political support. The Supreme Court held that amended Section 182(3) of Companies Act 2013 as unconstitutional because it is violative of Article 14. The amended section permitted unlimited political contributions by companies. FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, the registration of Center for Policy Research under the FCRA has been revoked by Union Ministry of Home Affairs. About the cancellation of CPR registration, according to the Ministry of Home Affairs, the registration was revoked due to violations of FCRA regulations. The ministry highlighted instances of CPR transferring foreign contributions to other entities, depositing them in non-designated accounts. It is violative of Section 7, that is prohibition on transferring foreign contributions to other person of the FCRA. CPR also published reports on current affair programs, which is a violation of FCRA. According to Section 3(1) in the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act of 2010, no foreign contribution shall be accepted by any association or company engaged in production or broadcast of audio news or audiovisual news or current affairs program through any electronic mode or any other electronic form. Now, FCRA and details. FCRA is prohibition to accept FCRA prohibition to accept foreign contributions. Now, details. Under the Act, certain persons are prohibited to accept any foreign contributions. These include election candidates, editor or publisher of a newspaper, judges, government servants, members of any legislature, political parties, among others. The bill adds public servants as defined under India Penal Code to the list. The public servant includes any person who is in service or pay of the government or remunerated by the government for performance of any public duty. Now, transfer of foreign contribution. Under the Act, foreign contributions cannot be transferred to any other person unless such person is also registered to accept foreign contribution. Now, FCRA account. Foreign contributions must be received only in an account designated by bank as FCRA account in such branch of the State Bank of India, New Delhi, as notified by central government. No funds other than the foreign contribution should be received or deposited in this account. Now, renewal of license. Under the Act, every person who has been given a certificate registration must renew the certificate within 6 months of expiration. The bill provides that the government may conduct any inquiry before renewing the certificate to ensure that the person making the application is not fictitious or benami. Reduction in use of foreign contribution for administrative purpose. Under the Act, a person who receives foreign contribution must use it only for the purpose for which the contribution is received. Further, they may not use more than 50% of the contribution for meeting administrative expenses. The bill reduces this limit to 20%. Suspension of registration. Under the Act, the government may suspend registration of a person for a period not exceeding 180 days. The bill adds to such suspensions may be extended up to an additional 180 days. Now, Aadhaar for registration. Any person seeking prior permission, registration, or renewal of registration must provide the Aadhaar number for all its office bearers, directors, or key functionaries as an identification document. Now, Article 142 and Chandigarh mayoral elections. The Supreme Court, in its recent judgment on Chandigarh mayoral elections, utilized its authority under Article 142 of the Constitution to ensure complete justice and uphold the sanctity of electoral democracy. The Supreme Court has quashed the result of January 30 elections for the post of Mayor of Chandigarh Municipal Corporations. Now, what is Article 142 of the Constitution? Article 142 grants Supreme Court discretionary authority. It empowers it to issue decree or orders deemed necessary to achieve complete justice in any pending case or matter within its jurisdiction. Now, positive utilization. The provision allows Supreme Court to exercise wide-ranging powers to ensure justice is served even if there is no specific law or provision applicable to the case at hand. Analyzing the functioning of the 17th Lok Sabha, PSR has released a report on the functioning of the 17th Lok Sabha. Now, functioning of the 17th Lok Sabha, 179 bills were passed in 274 sittings of the House. Due to pandemic, the question hour was cancelled in the monsoon session. 17th Lok Sabha registered the fewest sittings among all full-term Lok Sabha. The average annual sitting came down to 55 days from 130 days of average. This is the first instance when Lok Sabha did not elect Deputy Speaker for entire duration. Constitution under Article 93 mentions that Lok Sabha elect a Speaker and a Deputy Speaker as soon as may be. Only 16% of the bills were referred to committees for detailed scrutiny, while majority of the bills were passed without discussion. Time spent on budget discussions has reduced drastically and around 80% of the budget voted without discussion. Now, voting for elections for Rajya Sabha. Several MLA were accused of cross-voting during the recent elections for Rajya Sabha. Now, about Rajya Sabha elections. According to Article 80 of the Constitution, Rajya Sabha representatives from each states are indirectly elected by elected members of the Legislative Assembly. Before 1998, the candidates were nominated by various parties in accordance with the strength in assembly. Generally, they used to elect unopposed. However, in June 1998, the Rajya Sabha elections in Maharashtra saw cross-voting, and this tradition was broken. Legal provisions to curb cross-voting. Open ballot system. In 2003, an amendment was made to Section 59 of Representation of People Act 1951 RPA to prevent MLAs from cross-voting. This amendment introduced open ballot voting in Rajya Sabha elections. MLA from political parties must display their ballot papers to their party's authorized agent. Failure to do so or showing it to anyone else will invalidate the vote. Independent MLAs cannot show their ballot to anyone. Now, 10th schedule, it was introduced in 1985. The schedule states that if a member of parliament or state legislature voluntarily leaves their political party or votes against their party's instruction, they can be disqualified from the House. However, in 2017, the Election Commissions of India had clarified that the 10th schedule does not apply to Rajya Sabha elections. The political parties cannot issue any whip to their members for Rajya Sabha elections, and members are not bound by party instructions in these elections. Now, Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court in Kuldeep Nair versus Union of India upheld the system of open ballot for Rajya Sabha elections. The Supreme Court reasoned that secrecy can become a source for corruption. Transparency has the capacity to remove it. The Supreme Court also held that an elected MLA of a political party would not face disqualification under 10th schedule for voting against their party candidate. However, the party can take disciplinary action against them. Now, Supreme Court judgment on immunity to legislatures for taking bribes for their voting in legislature. A seven judge constitution bench has overruled its decision in 1998 judgment. Now, MP and MLA can be prosecuted for taking bribery to alter their voting decisions or speeches in legislatures. Now, the background to the current judgment: in 1998, a five judge Supreme Court bench, in its majority ruling, dismissed the case against MPs of JMM, citing immunity under Article 105, Subclause 2. It is a set precedent where lawmakers' actions within Parliament, like speeches, voting, were protected from legal scrutiny under the parliamentary privileges. Now, new judgment of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court stated that legislature freedom of speech and expression, along with their voting rights in the House, do not protect them from giving or taking bribes. Similarly, the immunities provided under Article 105 and 194 also do not shield them in such cases. The Supreme Court held that such privileges will be governed by a twofold test. The privilege claimed must be tethered to the collective functioning of the House. Its necessity must bear a functional relationship to the discharge of election essential duties of a legislature. Now, dual jurisdiction. It was clarified that both court and parliament have jurisdiction to deal with lawmakers' misconduct, serving different purposes. The Supreme Court highlighted that even accepting a bribe without a direct quid pro quo action constitutes corruption. The act of bribery is considered complete when the legislature accepts the bribe. It doesn't matter if the legislatures vote as agreed or doesn't vote at all. The reference came in an appeal filed by JMM leader Sita Soren, who was accused of taking bribe to vote for a particular candidate in 2012 Rajya Sabha elections. Now, about the constitutional immunities for members of legislatures, which is MPs and MLAs. Article 194, Subclause 2 of the Constitution grants immunity to members of state legislatures, while Article 105, Subclause 2 provides the same protection to members of parliament. Article 105, Subclause 2 states that no member of parliament can be held accountable in court for statements made or votes cast in parliament or its committees. Now, these constitutional provisions were interpreted to grant immunity to lawmakers from any proceedings in court related to their parliamentary activities. Now, provisions related to payment of income tax by political parties. There have been criticisms of demand of outstanding tax dues by Income Tax Department from an opposition party at the time of general election. Now, about the political parties in India, the provision of registration of political parties has been provided in RPA 1951. For any association of Indian citizens to be recognized as a political party, it needs to make an application to the Election Commission to get itself registered under Section 29A of RPA 1951. Section 13A of Income Tax Act of 1961 deals with tax provisions relating to political parties. Provisions related to income tax. Section 13A has given 100% exemption to political parties on its income from house property, income from other sources, capital gains, and voluntary contributions received from any person. These exemptions are subject to conditions. They need to be registered under Section 29A of RPA. They need to maintain records of each contribution of more than 20,000, including name and address of the person making such contribution. They should not receive any donations of more than 2,000 by cash. Treasurer of political party need to furnish a report of donation received in excess of 20,000 to Election Commission of India for the financial year. Though political parties have 100% exemptions on specified income, they are not exempted from filing IT returns. It is the responsibility of CEO of political parties to file the return of income and also sign and verify the same. Now, Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act of 2004. The Parliament has passed the Public Examination Act of 2004. The objective of the Act is to bring greater transparency, fairness, and credibility to the public examination system. The Act is applicable to central recruitment and entrance examinations conducted by UPSC, Staff Selection Commission, Railway Recruitment Boards, National Testing Agencies, Institute of Banking Personnel Selection, and Department of Union Government and their attached offices for recruitment. For cheating, a minimum of 3 to 5 years imprisonment has been prescribed. For organized crime of cheating, punishment will be 5 to 10 years of imprisonment and a minimum fine of INR 1 crore. An organized crime has been defined as an unlawful act committed by a person or a group of persons to further a shared interest or wrongful gain in relation to public examination. All offences under the bill will be cognizable, non bailable, and non compoundable. No action will count as an offence if it is proved that the accused had exercised due diligence. The Act seeks to set up high-level committee to establish protocol for developing foolproof IT security system for online and technology-based exams. Now, default bail. The Supreme Court has held that an accused cannot seek default bail on the ground that the probe is pending against another co-accused. In cases involving multiple accused, the default bail can only be sought by an individual if the investigation or probe is pending against the particular individual. Now, about the default bail is also known as statutory bail. The bail is given to an accused detained in custody when the police fails to complete the investigation and file the charge sheet within the time frame mentioned in the law. It is given under Section 167, Clause 2 of the IPC, which is now Section 187 of BNSS. The time frame for completing the investigation of offences under the IPC and for filing the charge sheet varies depending on the gravity of offence. An offence punishable with imprisonment up to 10 years, the investigation must be completed within 60 days of arrest. For offences where imprisonment is more than 10 years, the investigation must be completed within 90 days of arrest. The exemption to this rule exists under special laws like Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act, where the time period for investigations may be different, such as 180 days. Now, the Code of Criminal Procedure provides for three kinds of bail: anticipatory bail, regular bail, and default or statutory bail. Now, different types of bail. Regular bail is granted to accused individual who are alleged already in legal custody or jail. It allows the individual to be released from custody by giving a bond either with or without securities under Section 437 and Section 439 of CRPC, which is now Section 483 of BNSS. Interim bail. This bail is provided for a short period of time. It is provided to the accused person before the actual bail hearing or anticipatory bail. Now, anticipatory bail. This is defined under Section 438 of CRPC, Section 482 of BNSS. It is to be granted to those individuals who are apprehending arrest. Medical bail. It is granted to individuals based on medical ground such as life-threatening disease. Now to the point. Mulya Parv 2004, unupdated guidelines. Mulya Pravah 2.4 are updated guidelines from UGC University Grants Commission aimed at promoting ethical practices and human values in higher education institutes. UCC, the Uttarakhand State Assembly has passed the Uniform Civil Code for the state. The UCC is related to personal matters like marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption, and maintenance. UCC proposes to replace the personal law of different religious communities based on scriptures and customs with a common set of laws governing every citizen, irrespective of the religion. Now, systemic voter education and electoral participation, SWEEP. SWEEP is a flagship program of Election Commission of India, ECI. It is aimed at voter education, spreading voter awareness, and promoting voter literacy in India. SWEEP Strategy Document 2022-25. It is aimed to increase voter turnout to 75% in Lok Sabha general election of 2004. National Judicial Academy. It is an independent society operates under the guidance of Supreme Court of India. It is located in Bhopal with a registered office in Delhi. The Chief Justice of India, CJI, serves as the chairperson of the general body. It was established in 1993 under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. It is fully funded by the Government of India. Its mandate is to enhance the administration of justice through judicial education, research, and policy development. It arranges training sessions to assist judges in their adjudicative responsibilities and in managing court administrative tasks. Now, Bharat Ratna Awards. About the Bharat Ratna Award, Bharat Ratna is the highest civilian order in India, award in India, introduced in 1954. The award initially focused on arts, literature, sciences, and public services. Excuse me. It was broadened to encompass any field of human endeavor in December 2011. Any person without the distinction of race, occupation, position, or sex is eligible for these awards. The award has been given to two non Indians, Khan Abdul Ghaffar and Nelson Mandela. The recommendation of Bharat Ratna are made by Prime Minister to the President. No formal recommendation for this are necessary. On conferment of the award, the recipient receives a sanad, that is a certificate signed by the President, and a medallion. The award does not carry any monetary grant. The first recipient of the award were Chandrasekhar Venkata Raman, C. Rajgopalachari, and Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. The number of Bharat Ratna awardees was restricted to a maximum of 3 in particular year, but this year it has been awarded to 5 persons, which is Karpuri Thakur, P.V. Narasimha Rao, Professor Swaminathan, Charan Singh, and L.K. Advani. Democracy Report of 2004. The report has been released by Wiedem Institute at Sweden University of Gothenburg. The report classifies countries into 4 regimes under the Liberal Democratic Index: liberal democracy, electoral autocracy, and closed autocracy. India's performance. India has been ranked 104 in Liberal Democratic Index. Among the 179 countries reviewed, India has been classified as electoral autocracy. That'll be all for this video. We'll be starting with international relations in the next video. From the first quarter, that is January to March of 2004. That'll be all for this video. Thank you.